Hey everyone. Today's topic: don't tolerate passive-aggressive behavior from people you care about. This is incredibly important because if you want to maintain healthy relationships with the people you care about, the people you're close to, there really isn't any room for passive-aggressiveness. Like, that's something that can kill relationships with other people. It's a really conniving way for someone to basically express themselves. It's kind of like a lack of expressing yourself, really. It's complete dishonesty, and it's basically a result of someone not knowing how to properly communicate in an honest and authentic way. But it's incredibly important that if you spot this behavior in people you care about, nip it in the bud almost immediately. You just don't want to allow this to continue, because how the hell are you supposed to work with someone who isn't being honest and authentic with you? It's incredibly difficult to do. Like, I often say that honest communication is necessary to create healthy relationships, because I don't believe it's possible to do that in the absence of honest communication, because that immediately means both parties aren't being completely real with each other anymore. And that's how you can easily create arguments and disagreements and the like, because neither party is telling each other their true feelings. Like, you can't create healthy relationships by shoving everything down and being conflict avoidant. Being conflict avoidant tends to make more conflict over time, because it allows things to build up until they hit a breaking point, and then it all spills over, and now you suddenly are dealing with way more conflict than if you had just nipped those bad behaviors in the bud right away. So this is why I urge people to communicate honestly and authentically. And if you notice passive-aggressive behavior in someone you care about, call it out. Just try to make sure you phrase it in such a way that you're not attacking the other person, you're not blaming them. Just put it more in terms of your own feelings. That's often one of the best ways for us to communicate to other people. Just tell them how we're feeling and say, hey, look, the behavior that you were enacting made me feel this way. Not you yourself. Like, you're not a bad person. It's just the behavior, the thing that you did there is what affected me in this way. And then you ask them politely to not do that anymore, not do it going forward. Like, that's how you can basically bridge the gap between having those difficult conversations, because so often a lot of people are that conflict avoidant personality type, but you don't really need to create conflict to broach these topics. Like, there are ways where you can phrase what you're saying so that you're not actually creating conflict, because you're not making it about the other person and the things they're doing wrong. You're making it about behavior that makes you feel a certain way and the fact that you don't like feeling that way. So in a way, you're just kind of communicating honestly to them, giving them the opportunity to change their behavior to make the relationship work better. That's the way you want to handle these types of situations. Heck, that's like a good piece of advice for communication in general. Just always phrase it in terms of your feelings and how their behavior is making you feel not so great. Just do not attack them. Don't blame them. Don't say, you're a horrible person for acting in this way. No, that's not going to do you any favors, obviously. So you always want to attack behavior, not the person themselves. They're separate things, right? Good people can sometimes have bad behavioral traits that they enact, maybe because their parents did those things growing up, so it's normal to them. They don't realize how they're actually unhealthy behaviors. So they're not a bad person for doing those things, right? They just have bad behavioral patterns that they can change. So do not make it about them, because it's not about them. It's not their personality that's the problem. It's the behavior. So there you go. Just always strive to nip those bad behaviors in the bud as soon as possible, especially passive aggressiveness, because what the hell can you do with that, right? That's just the other person being petty and pessimistic and not giving you an opportunity to really fix things. So as soon as you see that kind of bad, annoying, passive aggressive behavior, call it out right away. Tell that other person that, hey, look, that behavior is hurting you because it's making you feel like there's distance between the two of you, and that you would really prefer it if they stop behaving in that way and instead just be honest and authentic with you. And then that, of course, means you have to hold space for their honesty and their authenticity, which means you can't immediately blow up at them and get mad at them for telling you how they feel, because then you're going to train them not to do that. So you need to be mature here as well. If you want to have great relationships, you got to put in inner work too. You can't expect the other person to change themselves and then you're able to get away without doing anything yourself. That's not how it works, of course. Great relationships require both parties becoming better human beings for the sake of the relationship overall. So be able to hold space for them, be able to not get offended when someone tells you how they feel. Hopefully they'll learn how to behave, or how to broach these conversations in the way that I'm telling you in this video, where they don't attack you and they just make it about their feelings. But yeah, not everyone learns how to communicate in these more healthy ways. So you do have to get to a place where you're comfortable with your partner not communicating in the best ways until they learn how to, and you shouldn't take it personally. Don't get offended over it, and instead just listen to what they're saying and ask how you can help them and make things get better overall in the future. And hopefully they'll reciprocate that. If they don't, find better people to include in your life, especially when it comes to your romantic partners, because ain't nobody got time for that. But anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. This kind of went beyond like the whole passive aggressive topic I was originally rolling with, but I like that it ended up this way. I think this is far more helpful for relationships in general. So hopefully you found it helpful as well. And if you like content like this, be sure to subscribe for more. Otherwise, the easiest way you can help me out is just to throw a like and a comment on the video for the algorithm. And before I close, I'm sure some of you noticed this awesome vehicle right here. This is actually my parents' neighbor's Jeep. He got some sort of like old school military Jeep. I think it's from like the 1960s era. It's freaking cool. It is so awesome. I mean, I grew up watching military movies with Jeeps like this in them, so it's cool to have one literally right here. It's only being stored here temporarily while my parents are basically holding it for this neighbor, because it's a long story, but basically he's come back to the area after a divorce. He was away for a long time because his wife was holding the property, and now he's finally back, so he brought this with him, and it's just cool that it's chilling in my parents' backyard for the time being. Eventually it'll go back to him and he'll fix it up. And yeah, just wanted to mention that. It's a long story, as I said, but hey, I figured some of you probably noticed it and may have found it interesting. So that's the story behind this Jeep that my dad has started calling Sarge. Probably an apt name for it, but yeah, hopefully you found the Jeep an interesting piece of the background as well during this video. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Arrivederci.